It is the Lakers Nightcap with Joe Soro. A day late, but not a minute early. Wait, did that make sense? Minute, I don't know. Anyways, I'm back. I wasn't able to make it last night, unfortunately. I guess I might have been too into the extracurricular activities last night for a Sunday night. I had to, yeah. Let's keep it at that. However, I do have my nightcap. It is Tito's straight up on the rocks. Keep it simple on a Monday night. Salute to everyone. It's good. It's good. So I felt bad because I know a lot of you were asking if I was going to show up for the post game last night and have a nightcap. I think I had too many nightcaps last night and wasn't able to make it. But again, I'll kind of rehash a little bit of what happened last night and then talk a little bit about whatever kind of comes to mind, especially with the Sacramento Kings looming here on Thursday. And then, just kind of talk about, I was in on the chat during the playback. So I think some of you got, you were there when I was talking. Hey, Jeremy, how you doing, bud? I'm doing well. Hey, Jay, what's up? It's been a long time. It's been 48 hours. Hey, yeah. But anyways, so going back to the game last night, I'll try to discuss some things that maybe Gerald didn't talk about last night with the crew. I guess my interpretation of last night's game was there was kind of a combination of a couple things. Number one, the Lakers, I guess the Lakers performed in a way that we would hope they could perform game in and game out. And it kind of looked like Memphis was kind of zapped too. I don't really know why Memphis didn't kind of come with it, but at the same time, it just seems like a lot of times that Memphis doesn't play as well against the Lakers. I think that's kind of one of those things where they just, I don't know. I know at the Lakers, I guess he's maybe have their number a little bit, even when the Lakers do play bad and lose to Memphis. It's never going to be, kind of like a domination where they sweep us during the season. Kudos to Max Christie. Got a lot of credit for playing up against John Morant, keeping him kind of at bay, if you will. And, we also have to give some credit to Reddish. I think he did a pretty good job there. Let's see. I had to have been happy with that game, Joe. Anytime you can win, and they were pretty much in control of that game all throughout. Those kind of games are a lot of fun to watch because it shows stability, it shows consistency, it shows a focus, and I don't know why that can't happen. I understand a lull every now and then, but this team is not an old team other than maybe LeBron or other than LeBron and AD. This is a young team. This is a team that should have enough energy to kind of have this performance. And I think that having Austin Reeves back did help. But, a lot of people that discuss things apparently don't know basketball very well. There's a certain glue that happens with certain players, and Austin Reeves has that glue. He does a few things that when you look at the past, I'm not saying this is a championship team by any means, but when you look at teams that are competitive, when you look at teams that are competing for the title, they always have an Austin Reeves type player. And he might not be the greatest, role player of all time, but the guy does things that helps a team. And I got a lot of flack for having him be one of two people that I would keep if there was an overhaul on this team. I had mentioned AD. I'd like to keep AD, but AD might be your only asset that you can actually get back some assets. But as far as keeping the glue team, the glue guys, the guys that I know that can make a difference, I had picked Austin. I had picked Connect because Connect's pretty much the only guy that can kind of shoot. And he's a rookie, and he has a lot of potential of being someone that could be a perennial shooter, perennial star shooter. But I got some flack for that for other reasons, but I won't get into them. But anyways, it was a good win last night, 116-110. Again, John Morant was held to, 6 to 21, 6 out of 21. If you can do that, especially for someone that athletic and that crazy good, you did yourself a favor. Jared Jackson Jr. had a really good game, much surprising to my I didn't think he was gonna. I didn't think he had it in him. I really didn't. Anthony Davis, of course, probably was the player of the game. He had 40 points, 16 rebounds, but more importantly, he was 15 of 22 from the field, and he only played 33 minutes. He did get hurt, went back to the locker room, then came back. And looking at the stat sheet, Memphis is a good team, so we can't kind of use that as an excuse where they played well against a team that wasn't good. Memphis is a very good team. And if you look at the minutes distribution for that game, that was probably even better than the numbers. LeBron only played 34 minutes, and Anthony Davis only played 33 minutes, and they were able to win pretty much from start to finish. So that was real good. Cam Reddish probably had his best game of the year. Played 14 minutes, scored 8 points, and really good defense most of the game. Dalton Connect. I don't know if Dalton Connect's going to get enough minutes to get back into that rhythm where he could get the bigger numbers. I think that's kind of been the problem, and maybe it could be a rookie thing where he's not probably smoothly running an offense correctly. Maybe not. He's not getting off screens better, or to JJ Redick's liking, or his defense is suffering, so therefore they don't. That's kind of playing a part in him not playing as many minutes. But a guy like Connect needs to be shooting a lot. He needs to have plays run for him. He needs to kind of have that freedom. And unfortunately, the team's structure right now won't allow that. And that's kind of the way it goes. Joe, can you find a way to contact Reeves and have him remove the headband? In the world of social media, all you have to do is go on his social media and just tell him, hey, dude, need to cut that Jay Cutler headband. Jay Cutler, I'm talking the bodybuilder, not the ex-quarterback for the Broncos and the Bears. That right there would be probably your quickest way to maybe getting him to take it off. And maybe he's one of those guys that says, I'm going to wear it now just because you don't like it. Could be. Yeah, he's not a headband guy. And I forgot to mention this before. The reason why, because, of course, everyone's comparing it to Alex Caruso's headband. Alex wore his to hide, to kind of distract from his unfortunate hair situation that he has no control over. Because when Alex would not have something on his head, he not only unfortunately lost his hair due to nature, his head doesn't look good bald. Like he doesn't have one of those round heads that makes it look cool to be bald. He's got a really bad hairline. He's got a really bad shoehorn that's all muddled. And then, of course, his head's all in different shapes. So he had to wear a headband just to kind of distract from not looking like he's unfortunately got some kind of sickness where he's losing his hair. But Austin Reeves has nice hair. What the hell is he wearing a headband for? So, yeah, go on his social media and do him. And tell him, if I could talk to Austin, I actually would tell him, like, Austin, look, man, I know you probably think you look cool. You probably think you're like Woody Harrelson and White Men Can't Jump. I don't know. Whatever. Dude, cut it out. Get a buzz cut. Get a mohawk. Do something. Don't do that headband. Cut it out. Joe, can you comment on Reeves and the headband? Yes, I did do that. Alton plays better off the bench right now. Joe, happy birthday in heaven to original headband. Yes, Cliff Robinson. So that was kind of the beginning of my era where he was kind of the only one wearing a headband. Pretty much he was. Why are people praising Dunleavy? Warriors have done nothing. Trust Pelinka. He's the best. All right, D1. Have you liked and subscribed? Because if you have, now I got to talk to you. Who's praising Dunleavy? Because of the Schroeder deal? And why the hell are you saying trust Pelinka? Why the hell would we trust Pelinka? Give me a reason. Give me a reason. I'm going to have 3 of these if you keep saying stuff like that. Why would we, Laker fans, trust Rob Pelinka? What has Rob Pelinka done to warrant trust at this point? Was it a drive-by? Was that a drive-by and then went away? If there's anybody else that wants to answer that question hypothetically, you don't need to believe it. But why would we in any way? Let's roll with that question. Good job, D1, if that's the last thing you write. Why would we trust Rob Pelinka? Whoever can find that answer, go ahead and throw it my way. Joe, thoughts on Schroeder to the Warriors? I feel like we missed out. No, we've had Schroeder twice, guys. Sure, he would have been better than what we have now, but would it really matter, guys? Would it really matter? Is Schroeder going to take us to championship? It's not going to matter, guys. It wouldn't matter. There's some noise coming out of New Orleans right now that they're pretty much wanting to dump everybody. I'd say there may be a second chance to get DeJounte Murray. I don't know what they're going to want over there. They obviously were trying to somehow move Brandon Ingram, but there's no way he's coming to LA. I think there's going to be a deal that New Orleans gets that they're going to like, and there's going to be a team that's going to probably be very happy to get someone like Brandon Ingram. But it's not going to be the Lakers. I don't think that's a good fit anyways with this team, especially with LeBron controlling the ball most of the time, especially in big games and high intensity games. But Brandon Ingram doesn't really do anything really, really well. He's good at a few things, but he doesn't do anything really, really good, really, really well. Like, you're not going to see him stand on the corner and make threes all day, or you're not going to see him really get the ball when you really need it and kind of make that play that kind of changes the momentum late in a tie game. You don't see him do that. It would be cool to get him because he's going to be better than any other third guy that we can probably get. Problem is, what would you have to give up? And I don't think there's a lot to give up anyways. I think the New Orleans Pelicans are going to want to get something of substance. And there's going to be a team out there that thinks, ooh, if we get Ingram, this might work. And I've been trying to rack my brain on who that would be. Would Denver make a deal? Like an Aaron Gordon with some draft picks. And by the way, I have no information on Denver wanting something like that to happen. The only reason why I'm saying that is maybe they need another scorer on that team. And Aaron Gordon, while a good glue guy, while a good, champion, maybe they're looking for someone that can score. Maybe another guy that can score besides Michael Porter and Jamal Murray. I don't know. I have to I'm just kind of throwing that out there because I think that would be a deal that might make sense. Denver's probably underachieving a little bit right now. And maybe putting someone in that could probably drop 20 points with that kind of atmosphere, with Jokic playing point center. Is it safe to say that he is the greatest point center that's ever lived? We know some of the good ones. They weren't called point centers, but Bill Walton, probably, if you had to vote for someone, even though his career was cut short a lot by injury, but would you say that Jokic at this point is the greatest point center that's ever lived? Because for me, I always saw Bill Walton as a point center. So that's a good discussion that we can have one day when we're not talking just Lakers and the progress of the season. I think it's a good snack. It's a good snack. Yeah. One of those shows where we do a snack. You know what I mean? Like a snack, like kind of like a drink snack. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, Denver might need someone like Brandon Ingram, and they could send some talent that way too. So just kind of keep that in mind. I know they just signed. I know Denver just signed Aaron Gordon to an extension, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there, but I feel like they should be better than 13-10. And I don't know if that helps. I don't know, but they just threw it out there. But anyways, we'll go on to the next setup here. Nets are obviously talking, so it would be good to pick up DFS. DFS is not good, guys. I don't know why everybody's obsessed with this guy. I am not a Finney Smith fan. I think this is the worst team he could go to because this team has a problem with discipline, has a problem with fundamentals. And you add someone like DFS to this team, he's going to learn from that and acclimate to that, and it's just going to get even worse. I just don't think he has the talent to really make that much of a difference. And we all know, in terms of trusting Rob, he loves to get players or get rid of players and give away good assets for him for some reason. I absolutely do not trust Rob Pelinka to get even someone like that without messing something up. So no on DFS. If the Lakers are going to go, they're going to relinquish their assets and possibly really, really put in jeopardy their future draft picks for the next setup, I hope it's for someone that's a legitimate 3, at least, at the very least. Joe, is it safe to say that Braun is no longer a number 2? When was he a number 2, really? So are you saying, Pastor? By the way, thank you. God bless. Are you saying that AD's 1 right now and LeBron is 2? I haven't heard that one in a while. That's an interesting one. Another D-Lo for DeJounte Murray here. Shoot, I make that deal, baby. But they're gonna probably want how many seconds? How many firsts at the same time? Darren? I'm sorry, DeJounte Murray's not worth a first, in my opinion. Unless it's like a late first. I don't know. I don't even know how that would work. I don't think that's a possibility either. AD not a real 1. D1, you just opened up something and you didn't come back with it. What's up? Why should we trust Rob Pelinka? You haven't answered that question. You gotta answer your own question a little bit, out of respect. It's your first time here, I think, at least from what I remember. Come on, D1. Give me something. Hey, Joe, where do you see the franchise minus Rob and LeBron? Ooh, that's a good one. Well, let's say LeBron, worst case scenario. Pelinka did not bring AD. Clutch brought AD. Pelinka was just there signing papers. Hey, yeah. You know what Pelinka did? You have a list of what Pelinka did the last 3 seasons? I'll wait. But to answer JY's question, I don't really know, honestly, JY. If LeBron is gone, the Lakers are likely in full rebuild mode unless something happens where we had talked about the summer of 26. So let's say LeBron plays out his contract. So he picks up his last year's contract for 2026, plays it out, calls his retirement that year, and is done, right? And then that summer, the list of free agents that summer was pretty vast. You had guys like Luka on there. You had guys like, I think, Trae Young. You have a lot of names that could be free agents that year. De'Aaron Fox, I believe, as well. If none of those guys re-up and test free agency in 2026, there could be something there. But my cynical side says, Luka's going to be an all-NBA player, so there's going to be an extension for the Supermax, and he's in Texas, which means he's going to get the tax benefits as well over there because there's no state tax. I don't see him not signing a Supermax deal in Dallas. If he doesn't, 2026 will be the summer of Luka. It'll be in line a lot with kind of like what's happened the last couple seasons in baseball, where Ohtani was a free agent last year before he went to the Dodgers, and then Soto being the big free agent this year and ending up in New York with the Mets. So I would like to see these guys not sign these max deals and test the market, but there's a lot of money they're putting they're taking off their plates. Think about it for a second. Your own team is the only team that can offer you a 5th year. If you go away from that, you're only going to get a 4th year from the team that you're signing with. And then on top of that, the only team that can give you a Supermax at that time is going to be your current team after you've made an All-NBA team. That's what you're playing with these free agent situations. Joe, do you think there's any way that we get a new GM, or is Pelinka untouchable? I don't think he's untouchable, but the problem is this team needs more than a GM. You need a GM, but you also need, more importantly, a player personnel guy. Who is going to be the player personnel guy? If you want Rob to be the GM, I actually don't mind that. I don't mind him being the secretary of the team, which is what the GM is in this case. What the Lakers need is they need someone that can draft well and bring in talent and make the right trades. Pelinka is not that guy. He never was. And the reason why I believe Jeannie didn't hire anyone is because she's put that onus on the Clutch group. They play around with that. She's teamed up with the agency of Clutch, and anytime they feel like, ooh, we're gonna go ahead and go do something, oh, we can have them kind of, because they're the agent, they can have certain players out there that they can talk to and talk to other agents and talk to other teams. I'm telling you, it's not run by the Lakers. A lot of this stuff is run by Clutch, which is just nauseating to think about, because you never, ever, ever, ever let anyone run your business except you. And that's just uncalled for. A lot of the reasons why I've been calling for Jeannie to sell the team. I didn't call the Buses to sell the team even in the worst situations when they were winning 17 games and 21 games and had Jim Buss at the helm. None of those times did I say sell the team, sell the team, sell the team. It wasn't until recently when I realized that this family is spent. It's been a long run. Their pops has been gone for what, 10 plus years now. It's time for and the culture of ownership in sports right now is it's in its next phase. It's no longer the family run type stuff anymore. It's very difficult. Unless you're in the NFL, you can kind of get away with it because everything is evenly spread out in terms of TV money and how the salary cap sets up. But in the NBA, even though there is a cap or a soft cap, you still have to have certain, I guess, decision making to dictate on what you want to do with the team in terms of a money standpoint. Do you want to play with the first apron? Do you want to play with the second apron? But even still, I think we're going to find out that even the second aprons are going to, the rules to that are going to not allow you to do anything either, even if you had the money. So now what? How are they going to navigate through this? How are the players going to accept money? Are the NBA players who signed this horrible CBA absolutely pathetic, the worst CBA I think I've ever seen? In the limited amount of stuff that I've read, and obviously the basic stuff that matters for us as fans, what the hell just allowed you to do this? You pretty much are now going to force star players to take pay cuts because you're not going to be able to compete. If Luka or Trae Young or any of these guys take the max, that means you probably have one more guy that can take the max, and then everything else has to be kind of like mid-tier. You can't have probably a third star. You can do it, but you'll have no depth. So they're going to have to start playing sports like Tom Brady did for years. Tom Brady could have demanded $50 million a year, $60 million a year 10 years ago. And you know what New England would have done? They would have paid him. They would have paid him. They would have had no choice because you know what? If New England didn't pay him, somebody else would have. But you know what? He didn't. He didn't because he knew if he did that, there'd be no way that they could fill up the team to where he can win. So basketball players are going to have to start figuring out if they're going to be able to take that pay cut to compete. Are any of these players going to want to win? And is the Pelinkas and the Genie Buses banking on that? Is that what they're banking on? Let us kind of acclimate to this new setup and then we kind of win. Is that what the owners were thinking? I don't know. I wouldn't put all my cards in that, honestly. Hoping that players take pay cuts. It happens, but it's very, very rare. And it's very, very rare when someone like a Tom Brady does it. Someone that's a upper tier guy. We all know who loved winning more than Kobe. But did Kobe ever take a pay cut? Hell no. Did Shaq ever take a pay cut? Hell no. So just know, guys, and I'm talking to the players in the NBA, you're gonna, if you want to win and you want to win continuously, see, that's the thing. Anyone can get lucky. Anyone can win a championship. And I know that's not easy to win a championship. I know it's not, I'm not saying if you're lucky to win a championship. I'm saying you can get that right year and the right path where you can win a championship when everything gets put together. But the consistency of winning, can you do that? Because that is not an accident. When someone wins 3 or 4 championships in, let's say, a 6, 7, 8 year span, that is not luck. That is sustainability. That's year in and year out focus. And 3 or 4 championships in that span generally mean that you're a part of a dynasty. So, yeah, a lot of questions still. Even I don't know if I have an answer for the Pelinka thing. I really don't. I kind of feel like that he's a GM. He's just not a player personnel guy. And this team needs someone that knows how to bring people in, how to do that. And unfortunately, Pelinka doesn't do that. Pelinka took us to the WCF. Oh, did he? Oh, so now we're celebrating Western Conference. See, how long you been a Laker fan, Mr. D1? Is that what we're going to do now? By the way, that was 2+ years ago. Are we really going to hang our hats on a Western Conference Finals appearance? What are you, Jim Irsay? Are you going to put a banner up there that says Western Conference Finalists 2022, 2023, 2024? What year was it? I don't know. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. Are you really going to hang your hat on that? When did this happen? Seriously. This team has LeBron James. LeBron James. A lot of you guys think he's the greatest thing. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, arguably the most talented player of his era. Maybe not in winning MVPs, but he's the 5-tool player, right? That's what we've heard. It's what we've seen. It's just, unfortunately, it's in spurts. It's never for an 82-game season. So answer that for me. We are now celebrating. Really? We are now celebrating 2023 Western Conference Finals finalist stuff? Dude, you got to go. You got to go, like, get yourself back to normal here. This is the LAFN Lakers. We don't celebrate playoff appearances. We don't even celebrate finals appearances. You know what's in the rafters? Unfortunately, we have that damn in-season tournament shit that's there that needs to get removed. Hopefully, this thing gets removed at some point here because it's trash. That arena only has championships. So I'll give them that on the in-season thing. At least it's a championship banner. We don't celebrate appearances in the playoffs. We don't celebrate appearances in anything other than winning. Winning. Everyone in the rafters is a Hall of Famer. Winning. And when you're the LA Laker fandom, folks, we're greedy. We only know success. We only know that our franchise, our favorite franchise, has 17 world championships. Yes, I said world because the NBA is the #1 league on the planet. World champions. Best talent ever. So, please, come on. Bring me something here. Pelinka brought us most difficult chip, the bubble chip. I feel like you're doing something, D1. Seriously, what are you doing here? I wrote the book on tact, so you can't come in with this verbiage. Are you being serious right now? We're a dynasty because of Pelinka. Okay, yeah, what? You know what? I'm gonna ignore what you're saying because now you're just being a jackass. So it's safe to say, Joe, that the LeBron and AD experiment has ran its course. Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's just it's the way it plays out. It's just the way it plays out. Unfortunately, the new system also kind of expedited the setup as well by having these rules with the aprons. That was it. There's no chance that the Lakers can make a trade. And by the way, this was a long time coming. This system came to a head now, this last year or so, because of David Stern's infatuation on holding the Lakers back due to owners that employ him that are not the Lakers, that were tired of the Lakers slapping them around from a, basketball sense, not literal. The Lakers, David Stern started this path. As soon as Michael Jordan left, because All he did for Michael was enhance Michael's ability to do what Michael wanted to do, right? That was his golden goose. He wanted to set it up because Michael had the ratings were to the sky whenever he was playing, so he did that. But with the Lakers, for some weird reason, everything changed with Shaq and Kobe. Shaq and Kobe come into the picture. They start winning championships. They three-peat. What does David Stern do after the 2002 finals? He implements the zone. When he did that, he essentially took Shaq's prime and shrunk it by at least 2 or 3 years. When you implemented the zone, you ended up taking guys like Shaq who dominate single-handedly, right? You can't the way the NBA used to play when they didn't allow the zones was you couldn't sag to the player that was not there, that didn't have the ball. So they couldn't really have anybody in that vicinity. Let's say Shaq is at the post, he's got his guy guarding him. You couldn't get a secondary guy to him, too obvious anyways, or they call it illegal defense. It wasn't until he got the ball. So what would happen is as soon as Shaq got down in the paint and got position, it was over. Because by the time the secondary guy came, it was too late. So you never really had a chance to guard him. That's why he was so dominating when everything got put together. And of course, you had the triangle, which when you create the triangle, you create the triangle to someone like Shaq who can actually pass when he does get the ball. So because the ball never stops. That's the whole point of the triangle. You set up triangle. The triangle offense always kind of has this constant moving of the triangle on how the players pass to the open player. Whoever has the shot, they take the shot. It's equal opportunity based on who can get open the most and have the best shot possible. So who's going to have the best shot possible when Shaquille O'Neal's in his prime? Shaquille O'Neal, possibly the greatest 2-foot to the basket player of all time, right? That guy used to take guys like Dale Davis and Antonio Davis with him while he's dunking them. And you're talking about guys who are 6'9", 250 pounds and ripped to shreds. So that's, again, yeah, it's this new system. Again, that was kind of the first step. Then, year by year, you started seeing more and more of the CBA constantly trying to figure out a way to keep teams like the Lakers from acquiring talent and working around certain trades so that they can be competitive. The Paul Gasol trade pissed off Popovich, it pissed off Mark Cuban, pissed off all those pieces of shit owners and coaches that that were all doing their own thing the same way, but because the Lakers did it, it became this big deal. Let's see here. If LeBron tries to get his stats, we lose during those times in the game, play team ball. It's more than that, Darren. It's LeBron's attitude that dictates a lot of things. When he doesn't get back on defense, when he doesn't get a call, when he takes a break for a week but has to say personal issues, just stupid things like that create drama. It's aggravating. LeBron has a good game 1 out of 6. He no longer is number 1 option. This team doesn't really necessarily have a 1 option. I don't think we've talked about that yet. This team doesn't really have a 1, and that might be why. It's impossible for LeBron not to be LeBron during the game, no matter who's playing. He controls the ball. There isn't a Chris Paul that he's playing with in his prime to where he would have to relinquish that. But LeBron is a guy that's got to have the ball in his hand, and whoever has the ball in their hand is always going to, especially late in games when it's close, that's really the true number 1 option. Even when Shaq was the number 1 option, unfortunately, towards the end of games, you couldn't go to Shaq because you were scared he'd miss free throws. So what Phil Jackson would do is he would set up the game with Shaq owning the first 3 quarters, and then he'd send Kobe Bryant to finish it. It was a pretty good setup because they won a lot doing that. Mark, where are you, man? Did you get a link? I thought you were going to be on here. We beat a Portland team that was just beat by Utah by 40. Yeah, I'm not putting a lot of stake in the in the Portland win. You got to win that game. You win it, call it a day. This win last night was good. I actually was not expecting it. Looking at the schedule, I had them losing this game, and then I had them losing the next two games. I had them winning the Detroit game before Golden State for the Christmas game. So they're going to play Sacramento on Thursday, and then they're going to stay in Sacramento for a day, and then play them again on Saturday. Hopefully, they can have me wrong again and win the next three games before they get to the Christmas game, which will be in San Francisco, and we'll see how good the Warriors are. That's funny, Mike. That's funny. Oh, you're working. Do you believe? Oh, decided the show. Have
What's
you
up?
left that couch, that chair yet? That throne?
Been sitting here stewing in my Raider juices, Joe.
Oh, I don't want to. I'm not going to bring that to you. I'm sorry. Uh,
It
I
was
don't
the
know what to
first. It was the first game I watched from beginning to end, and it was painful.
look.
Desmond Ritter. It's taking me back to Wade Wilson days, Joe.
Wade Wilson had a stint with the Saints. It was in 1993. It
hmm
was Cowher's first year coaching,
Right.
92, 93.
Okay.
And they were 5-0, the Saints, and then they played Pittsburgh and they got waxed. That was their first loss, and then of course everything fell apart. Uh, God, Wade Wilson, I haven't that like you. That was like when you hear a song and you remember a year with it. That was what
Yeah.
happened when
Th-
you said
This
Wade Wilson.
this this game was the second most painful Raider game I've ever watched. The first one was, I'll never forget it. They were playing the San Diego Chargers. It was a brutal 5 yards in a cloud of dust game. The Chargers were up 6-0 in the fourth quarter with 6.5 minutes left. And Wade Wilson threw this slant pass to James Jett for 88 yards, and he was gone, Joe.
James Jett, jeez, that's some good. That's some good times back in the '90s, man. I see. I didn't live through the '70s. Well, I was alive, but I was obviously just born in '78. I didn't live through the Raider Steeler kind of thing, so I never felt anything for the Raiders in terms of like disgust. Yeah,
Disdain,
it
like
was the
hate.
Niners because I
Yeah.
grew up in Central California, and the Niners
Yeah.
were the ones that I
Yeah.
couldn't stand. Raiders, I think a lot of it too is you never really noticed that the Steelers talked a lot of smack about the Raiders even back then. I mean, Chuck Knowles said there was a criminal element. Of course, Al had to call his lawyer. I mean, come on, Al, really? Um, but there was an admiration, kind of like how we felt this year. Not exactly the same, but I was trying to tell some people about the Padres this year against the Dodgers. Everybody's like, "Oh, f the Padres," and I'm like, "No, hold on." I go, "It made the series better that way.
Well,
Rivalry makes things better."
a lot of what happened like, this is a great story, but a lot of what happened in the 70s with the Steelers and the Raiders happened because one of the Raiders trainers happened to be an expert in plaster cast, Joe. So if somebody sprained their elbow or sprained a wrist, he would concoct this like plaster cast. And Philip Varel, who was one of the best Raider linebackers of all time and big friend of Franco Harris, Joe. I'm not sure if you knew that or not.
I did not. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't know until you told me before.
So Franco's Italian, and his parents
Right,
are
right.
immigrant. So his father was accepting some award in New Jersey, right? And Franco was talking to him. He's like, call Phil, call Phil. I want, and so he came and he helped Franco's dad accept the award and give a nice little speech, and they became like best friends after that.
It's very similar, almost identical to the Steeler Raven rivalry, except the Steeler Raven rivalry lasted much longer than the Steeler Raider rivalry. I never disliked. I'd rather have the Ravens lose, but that's because they're in the division. But there was never really a dislike of Ray Lewis or Ed Reed or Suggs. Like I didn't dislike, loathe them. So it's very
Like
similar.
they had, and
They're the same team.
they also had very likable guys, Goose and
Yeah,
Haloti Nada,
yeah.
and um, gosh, I mean Rod Woodson played for the
That one hurt.
Ravens as
That one
well.
hurt in 2000. I'll be honest, because the Steelers did admit that they let Rod go too early. I think had they known he could play so well, which is just mind-boggling to me that they wouldn't know this. Like, really, you didn't think Rod Woodson, one of the greatest athletes that have ever played football, not just a great football player, one of the greatest athletes, you didn't think he would be able to slide to the safety position? But that was at a time. A lot of people don't know this, but that was before these TV deals started really kicking in, and Steelers were they're a family-owned team, and they just could not compete. The money was very very tight in Pittsburgh in those times. They were losing free agents left and right, guys like Chad Brown, Carnell Lake, Rod Woodson. Anytime their contracts were up, and they would always kind of veer on the side of caution and say, "Look, we have to kind of let these guys go in a lot of ways before they stink because we don't have enough money to sign them all." But yeah, Rod Woodson winning with the Ravens was kind of a bummer.
Almost
Seeing him in a Niners uniform was actually worse. I'll be honest.
almost got one with the Raiders, Joe. That
Yeah, he did.
backfield with Charles Woodson and Eric Allen was really good.
I still because I had picked Jerry Rice as the greatest football player that ever, and in a lot of ways he still is to me. I actually don't like that loss to the Bucks because of that. Because I said, man, if Jerry Rice wins a fourth championship with the Raiders, that's kind of like that is just like uh
Fuck you,
Tom Brady
fuck
winning a Super Bowl in Tampa. Like it's freaking Jerry Rice. Wherever Jerry Rice goes, he wins. If Al had not messed up that damn Gruden thing, I think they would have won it that year.
and
And
fuck you, Barrett Robbins.
there was
You
during
psycho.
that period.
You
During that period,
psycho.
remember Eugene Robinson?
Yes.
Okay, when Elway's last game against the Atlanta Falcons in Super Bowl, what was it? Super Bowl 33. This was supposed to be a religious man, a family man. He gets caught the night before, and I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna get smoked tomorrow. And boy, did he get smoked. Rod Smith had him for lunch. He had him for lunch. It was sad. That was a sad one. That was because see the thing is when you look at instances like that, the first thought I have, forget about the incident. It's like if I'm putting myself in the spouse's position. How many times have you done this? Because you know that's not the first time, right? That's the bad part. Now, if it happened to be his first time, boy, did you pick the worst time. You got to be the dumbest guy ever. Stay in your hotel room, dude.
Oh, okay. Do some research for me in the chat, or you, Joe. As I go on here, what university did Eugene Robinson come from? Because that will tell the story. Um, I, Speaking of that, I mean, look, man, that that get so first of all, I thought the Raiders were going to put up somewhat of a fight against the Bucks, but that cover two defense is so good that I think I like even back then, even playing in high school, I was almost like Gannon really doesn't have an arm anymore, and the Bucks can like really shore up the intermediate stuff. So I wasn't sure if the Raiders could win, but I thought it'd be put up a fight. But Robin's bailing on the team, Joe, that's worse than what that is worse than what Campbell did to the Niners. It's much worse.
It is in a lot of ways because the center is the quarterback of the offensive line. He calls the plays sometimes. I remember that was my job. I used to call the blocking schemes at the line. I used to pull. I was a Dermontti Dawson guy type center. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's all pro center for the Steelers.
I'm sure you were. I'm sure you weren't asked to do it, but I'm sure you could be tush push like Jason
Oh,
Kelsey was.
that would have been. I would have loved to have. I would have loved to have been part of that. We had a juggernaut of a running game. There was a month where we were rushing for 400 yards a game. It was complete domination. Our third running back had a 100-yard game. Our first two obviously did. Had a 100-yard game on 2 runs.
It's like something out of a video game,
It
Joe.
was it was just we we had been told this, and of course it bothers me to help. The game we lost in the playoffs still haunts me in
And you
my
played in
dreams.
Northern California,
I
right?
played in Central California. We were playing. It was the second round of the playoffs. We were at home. We were up 21-14 with under a minute left. And Golden Valley, I ended up playing in the All-Star game with a lot of those guys. They ended up being actually became some of my friends too. We hated them. We ruined their homecoming early in the regular season. The playoffs, we're up 21-14. We got this game in the bag. But for some reason, our coaches decided to run man-to-man. Don't know why. They didn't go into a nickel or a dime, and of course the quarterback throws a fade to the corner, gets it, and then we're up 21-20, and they, instead of kicking the extra point, for some weird reason, our coach calls a timeout and then gives them enough time to think about maybe going for 2. They go for 2. Quarterback kind of waits it out for a half a second and takes off to the right. Can't catch up to him. Lose by a 2-point conversion. The next week, we would have faced our Baltimore Ravens, and they're all pro, all like world nose tackle. I didn't get a chance to play against him in the regular season. He got hurt, but this guy was a beast. Conway, I remember his name was Conway. I had prepared the entire week to battle this guy, and it would have been epic. It would have been for that particular section title, and then we would have played. I think it was Jesuit. Ended up winning the CIF in that area, and everyone said, Joe, if you guys had beaten, Golden Valley and went on to beat the Modesto team, because there was like 5 Modesto teams, high schools there. If we had beaten them the following week, that would have been a hard game too. I mean, you can't guarantee that we'd have won it, but let's say if we had, they said you guys would have rolled over Jesuit. You would have destroyed them. Golden Valley ended up winning that game too, because that's why I felt like we would have been able to win it. But yeah, it's look, the center position. I think it cost the Steelers Super Bowl 45.
Really?
Yes, because I'm just when
Pouncey?
Pouncey got hurt. He hurt his ankle, and everything was coming through the middle. That the interception that Ben had in the end zone was because of pressure up the middle.
Yeah.
Losing offensive linemen before the big game. Ask Patrick Mahomes when he faced Tampa how bad it was.
Oh, and Joe, it's it might be even worse this year because they have a bad offensive line. He's running for his life almost on every play. It's sad to see.
I got lucky, Darren. I don't think I had one bad. I had one really bad knee to the helmet in a game. I don't know if that constituted as a concussion. It might have been a mild one. I had them a few times in practice, but thank God, I don't think I had anything too bad. I led with my shoulder.
Any blow to the head now, Joe, is considered a concussion like.
Then that one was a concussion. I would say if I had one, it
A
was
knee
a
to the
bad
head,
one. It
yeah.
was a knee to the head, and for some reason, whenever I put too much air in my helmet, the first hit I would have, it would be like, oh shoot, whoa. So that might have constituted as a concussion. But one for sure, I'd say one for sure because I was jacked up for that one. I was really jacked up for that one, and then a couple times in practice. But I
But
led
then
with my shoulder. I led with my
look,
shoulder.
look, I tried explaining this to a woman the other day when she was asking me why I played football, and she would never allow her son to play football, and she said, "So you're s- you're a nice person. Why'd you play football? Why'd you play that?" I said, "Because I'd like to fucking hit people."
I would play football to this day if I could. There was nothing better. There was nothing more satisfying than lighting people up. And
Loved it.
I got it late. I didn't get it in early. I got it in late. I hate that I only had a satisfaction of that late into my football life. But it was the greatest dopamine on the planet. I mean, obviously, relations plays a even area there too, but non-relation, definitely, definitely, the greatest feeling you could ever have is absolutely making what I used to call it putting a guy parallel, making a guy go parallel with the ground.
It's competition.
It
That's
is.
what it is.
There's an addiction to winning. There's an addiction to competition that has never left. It's never left, and it got bigger. See, what happens is competition is a confidence thing.
Yes.
I've noticed that the more confidence you have, the more it continues to build, and it does because in college, you build a certain confidence in college because now you're kind of out on your own. College was the pretend real world because you weren't really in the real world yet. You still were kind of bind to the rules of school, and you didn't really necessarily have to work yet because you
Hmm.
were learning still.
Which is so weird now with the NIL. It's like so weird.
Yeah.
So weird. Anyway.
Yeah, but then and then the confidence and what gets built there is the confidence is okay. I'm essentially in high school,
Hmm.
but I'm on my own. I have my own apartment. I have a job. I I'm in charge of paying my tuition. Like that's what I did for all of but 1 year,
Right.
my last year, right? And I was so behind in my schooling. I finally I was like, dude, I gotta finish. It's like 1201. I'm like, I'm looking at my transcripts. I'm like, dude, I'm never gonna graduate. I gotta get my shit together. Went ahead and did whatever I needed to do in the summer. Took all the classes I needed in fall and spring. Luckily, I graduated that following year. Well, not technically. I finished my coursework. I needed to pass that damn little entry thing to
Okay.
which
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
which is story in itself. So okay, here I think I've said it on the show, but I'll say it again. Sorry guys if I'm veering off sports here, but it is a funny story. So I got to take this test called the ELM. Okay, I got a 7 in this fucking thing like 3 times, and you need an 8 to pass. I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong? I've been writing papers like since I was 10. Like, what is going on here? Why can't I pass this thing? So I finally have to go take a prep course. And it just so happened to be one of my old English teachers. She didn't really remember me because those classes in college sometimes are big. They don't remember you,
They
right?
just blend together. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all.
So, but she did sort of remember me because we did talk a few times. But she goes, "Yeah, whatever, this, and that, and let's, we'll show you what's going on." Because I told her, I said, "Look, I keep getting a 7 and it's killing me." She's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll help you." So she starts the class with, "All right, everyone, everything you've learned about how to write is wrong. Mind you, I'm done with college. Like, I'm done. And I've been writing papers like this since I was 10. You know, introduction, thesis, body, conclusion. My whole life, same thing. I got a damn degree coming from that." She starts out with, "Everything you've learned about how to write a paper is wrong." I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? After all this time? So she shows us how to do it. So she shows us how to do it. I take the test 2 weeks later. Guess what? I get an A.
Okay.
Son of a bitch. I'm like, everything in my life everything we're told is wrong. Everything. So I graduate. Confidence, going back to our subject at hand before we get back to confidence.
That was a funny
Confidence in
story,
college.
by the way, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Confidence in college grows because you're kind of you start to feel like, ooh, I'm like I was 19 years old. I had my own apartment. I had a
Yeah,
job,
autonomy and
a tax.
independence. Independence.
My first tax deducting job. I'm going to school full time. I mean, I felt like I got this thing figured out. And I
Yeah.
did. I did. I mean, who has their own apartment and has a job and goes like it? It just happened that way. And I had a good, fraternity of friends and all that.
And doesn't deal.
Right. That's another thing. So now so in high school, the extracurricular stuff, you have to come home or not. You got to go somewhere else. So now you have your own gig. You don't have to worry about being embarrassed because mom, can I have somebody come over? Like my parents probably wouldn't have cared, but it's still kind of like it's their house, man. I mean, I don't want to do that, And I never did because I just couldn't do it. I didn't have I just couldn't.
I couldn't either, Joe.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I couldn't.
I couldn't either.
And I couldn't go to her house either. Like that's even worse. I'm like, here's some dude, even though they liked me and I was cool. I'm just like, no, I can't. I can't do it. Can't do it. I'm like De Niro in Goodfellas. Can't do it. Just can't do it.
I'm a sinner there.
Right. Well, anyways, the point is, that's fine. That's fine. It is what it is. So,
but only if we were alone.
Good for you. Again, I'm not judging at all on that one. It's a
I
tough one.
wouldn't give a shit if you were or not. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Look, just because I wouldn't do something doesn't mean it's bad. I'm just saying it's just something that I'll tell you a story about something later.
You despise tattoos, but some of your favorite athletes.
Oh, absolutely. And I wouldn't mind putting a fake tattoo if I was like doing a movie for sure. Just because I think sometimes it is cool.
You'd look pretty cool with some tats there, Joe. Fake tats, yeah.
I almost every friend of mine has a tat. Almost everyone. So I'm not against them in terms of having tats. I don't think I'd want to.
Yeah, no, it never dawned on you.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it is my dad didn't like three things. He didn't like He didn't like earrings. Number one. He didn't like tattoos, and he hated motorcycles.
Right, you've mentioned this.
The motorcycle was a tough one because I really wanted to ride a Harley.
Yeah.
And he said he had three friends of his die on bikes, and God rest his soul, my cousin died a few years back on a crotch rocket. So my dad, God rest his soul, I don't look. I was his only son.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, even my mom would
have
been.
No, I understand, Joe. I
couldn't do it, and I can't do it now. I definitely can't do it. I have kids, and if they lose their dad, oh my God, I just can't. I can't even fathom that. Anyways, so college builds the confidence, and then of course, then you get into the real world finally after college, and then now you're starting to like build a career, and I'd say between 2003, 2007, there was a little bit of finding out kind of what the hell I wanted to do. And it was okay, but not great. And I say not great as in like, I didn't have a career. And then 07 hit, I got into a business where I always say that business bought my house. Bought the house, and then there was another lull like around the early 2000s. And that's where sometimes your confidence can be. Confidence is a sometimes it can level up. There's a lot of peaks and valleys there.
Well, as you say that, me and John were discussing that yesterday because he was mentioning that coming out of college, everybody had raved about who had the biggest bag in the draft, Joe, and it was Cam Reddish, right? Cam Reddish has the biggest bag. Cam Reddish has the most moves, and his confidence is completely cratered. And John was wondering if that he never saw that before. I say I have. I saw it in baseball. I remember Ricky Romero for the Jays, Joe, was
Mhm.
on the cusp of becoming maybe a perennial Cy Young contender, and he just fell off the cliff like overnight, like forgot how to pitch. And he explained later that it was all psychological.
I was watching The Last Dance again the other day at my sister's place. I
You
was
really
watching with.
enjoyed that documentary.
Well, it just so happened that my brother-in-law was watching it. I didn't
Mm.
purposely put it on, but I do put it on probably every 6 months or so, just because there are things that are said in that documentary that just it hit. And one of the things that really hit is Michael Jordan never let anything distract him from the job. He was in the moment. He focused in the moment. He focused on what needed to get done. There wasn't this worry if he can't do it, can he do it? Like he never let that distract him. And that is I don't even know what they call that. I don't know. I don't even think it's confidence. Confidence, there's plenty of people out there that are confident. But that is a different kind of focus. And I don't want to I don't want to listen to how to be more confident from some guy in a TED talk selling a
or
book.
or or Anthony Robbins.
I don't have a problem against Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins, whatever he calls himself. I don't need that. A lot of that stuff is very churchy, preachy to me. What I like to see is I remember those games. I can relate more to a performance. I need a performance, not again selling a book. Something that's very hard. Why do I continue to love sports? Because there's very few people that can do this. While you're sitting there yapping about how much money they're making, crying about it, because almost everyone hates success deep down when somebody else has it, especially when it comes to athletes, actors, all these famous people, because they all want that. Deep down, anytime they see somebody fall, they're there clapping, right? What happened to Patrick Mahomes last year? I remember he was wrong on one of those offside plays, right? And everyone jumped on him. Everyone. He was wrong. Obviously, he probably found out later he was wrong. But in the game, they don't have replay in the game while he's playing. He didn't know any better. But my God, the
We don't
venom
have instant replay.
right. The venom that they threw at him, was wow. This is Patrick Mahomes. This guy is a good dude. Why are you being such dicks up to this guy all of a sudden? Oh, could it be because he's a winner? Oh, because he's successful? Oh, you got
Gotta
to bag on his wife now because she's this like any of you bitches out there that don't like her hair or her eyebrows or whatever, like you wouldn't be doing what she's doing.
Well, just because you're jealous because she got his wick wet and you didn't.
You know what's funny, Darren? I don't. It wasn't pubic hair, but I did have hair, a lot of hair when I was born. But then it's that I don't know what the juice hair from inside the placenta, something like that. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But these guys seem to be pretty
You
obsessive with
talking
my.
about the amniotic fluid?
Maybe it made my hair look more greasy. I don't know. It's shortened up later. It's shortened up later.
And on that note,
On
uh,
that note, confidence. Going back to confidence, and then we're going to go back to talking more Laker talk here. So you go through this process of confidence. Why do we love sports? We love sports because the most confident clutch. Why do we like clutch too? Clutch confidence. It's the most admirable trait because that means you do things when it matters, when the heat is on and the stakes are high. Boom. That's what it's about. And there's plenty of people out there that can watch their favorite team play and go, "Oh, shucks. We'll get them next year." And I love those people. I really do. Especially like women that are coming to the Super Bowl game and they're wearing the Seahawks jerseys and they're playing the Patriots and they're like, the Patriots are supposed to be good. They don't really, but they don't care. They're like, oh, let's win, guys. And then of course, Russell Wilson throws the interception, and because I was at a party that day, and you had people that like, oh, what a terrible mistake. Oh my God. But it's okay, we'll get him next year. While I'm sitting there going, I'm not even a Seahawks fan, and I'm like, dude, that's like the worst place to be depressed. You're on mute, Sean.
So is that one of your worst Super Bowl parties, Joe, or the worst?
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. Actually, that was one of the best Super Bowl parties. So my buddy invited me, and there's a bunch of people there. And normally I'm not good around like that kind of atmosphere because you always have a bunch of jugheads. There were no jugheads. None. No jugheads at that party. So we were able to sit and watch. None of those, yeah, man, he's gotta run a post here, man. It's gotta at a bar. None of that. None of it. But what was funny about the ending was my buddy, he's a genuinely nice guy, right? Like he's very nice. He's respectful. He respects the other team, like all that shit, right?
All right.
So now he sees the what was it? The stomach catch by what's his name? Who was the Seattle receiver? God dang it, my memory right now it's just
Kenny
shit.
Lockett?
No, it wasn't Kenny Lockett. Hold on. Seahawks receiver. Hold on. 2014. Where are we here? Wasn't Lockett. Who was it? I gotta remember his name. God dang it! Hold on.
What was his number?
I think it was 80 something. Hold on. Sorry guys, I gotta get this name. It drives me nuts that I don't remember it. Curse? I think it was Curse. Yeah, Jermaine Curse. That's who it was. So Jermaine Curse makes that catch, right? At the 6-yard line. Essentially, it's history repeating itself, except it's not David Tyree. This time it's not a helmet catch, it's a stomach catch, right? My buddy goes, come on, man. And he felt bad for Tom Brady. He's like, come on, man, this can't happen to Tom again. And he's not really a big Tom Brady guy, but he felt bad for him because he had just brought him back from 2 scores, right, in the fourth quarter. And he's like, come on. And I'm like, bro. And then the next play is Marshawn Lynch taking it to the 1. I'm like, I was like, I'm like, bro. Look, they're gonna give it to Marshawn. He's gonna go in, and it's game over, bro. This is how sports. I'm like sitting here doing this kind of shit, kind of like calming him down a little bit, trying to give him a little bit positive reinforcement that sports can suck sometimes like that, right? Sometimes twice. And as I'm doing this, I'm like, what's Russell Wilson doing in the shotgun? Oh, no!
Yeah.
It went just like that. I'm sitting there like this, looking, yapping, and commentating at the same time. Like, why is he shotgun? Wait a minute. Why is he throw? Oh!
It's hilarious.
Oh man, I could my brain couldn't comprehend why.
Right. It's the worst Super Bowl loss in history. The worst. It's the most brutal. It's worse than Norwood's miss.
For sure, but what about Atlanta's loss?
It's worse than who am I thinking of here, Joe? Who stepped at the 1 with the Titans and the Rams?
Yeah, by far. That was Jesus Christ. My God, my memory is really shit right now. Titans at the 1. Who was it? Kevin Dyson.
Dyson. I was gonna say Kevin Dyson. Yeah, I remember Pat Summerall's call now.
No, that wasn't. To me, that wasn't necessarily a. That wasn't necessarily a bad loss for the Titans. They were losing 16-0 in that game, and they
No,
came
I'm
back
talking
and tied it.
like it's heartbreaker though.
Oh. Honestly, I think
That
it's a
that wa-
tie. I think it's a tie between the Atlanta loss and Seahawks loss.
See, I would agree, except for the fact that I remember a spectacular um, Julio Jones catch that set the Falcons up to
For
just
a game-winning field goal, basically. And what happened, Mister?
penalty on first down. So now it's 1st and 15,
And then Matt Ryan takes a sack.
which you cannot do in that situation.
Man, that is a bad loss, dude. They're both the same to me.
I,
They're both
I
the
I
same.
would I would say there's more heartbreak with Seattle, Joe, just because the Falcons had an opportunity at the end to end it, even though there was a comeback in the making.
I couldn't believe what I was watching. I always wonder what would have happened at New England lost that Super
The
Bowl.
bet the best Super Bowl party I ever went to was when the Eagles finally did it, and I had a couple buddies who were Eagles fans, and seeing grown men cry, Joe, was something else. Because let me tell you something, man. That would have been bad if they had lost that. Like, and everyone was already thinking they were going to lose anyway. But imagine being in the same division, the same proximity to Giants fans who would always rub it in your own make that you lost twice to Tom Brady and the Patriots, and fucking Eli Manning beat him twice.
And they were not supposed to win that year. They had Nick Foles backup.
Everything, every instinct Doug Peterson had in that game was correct, Joe.
It was
He called the perfect offensive game in Super Bowl history, without a doubt.
so. I find it interesting that you mentioned the Giants with that, right? So Carson Wentz actually was. They were saying he was he was on his way to win the MVP that year.
I think, and you could say the same thing about Derek Carr the year before, and they
Right.
both
Well,
suffered.
suffered. Derek Carr broke his femur, right?
Yep.
And Carson jacked up his ACL, I think it was.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the an eerie thing about the Giants saying that to him. So Carson Wentz, the starter, the potential MVP, gets injured. Nick Foles takes over, and at this point, Eagles are like, our season's over. Like, we're not going to win a championship. Go back to 1990. Phil Simms, Super Bowl MVP in 1986, gets injured. Jeff Hostetler takes over. They won the Super Bowl the same way those Giant fans won in 1990. I think that's just a weird coincidence that they won with a backup quarterback.
Jeff Hostetler, quarterback, Los Angeles Raiders. I'll sign him to a big contract. Again, I don't know what it is. He just loved guys who played big in big games.
The weird thing about
At least you know what? At least that man lived by his creed and died by it. I don't
he
believe
did.
in play. I don't believe in player plays. I believe in players. He signed Hostetler. He signed Larry Brown. He signed Desmond Howard. At least he went down swinging the way he wanted to, Joe.
But the Larry Brown one was not a good one. Larry Brown did not do anything to get those interceptions. He just
He
stood
just
there.
happened to be in the right place at the right time twice.
I don't know. Well, anyways,
And Neil O'Donnell.
It's tragic. It's tragic how that game went down, considering how amazing the defense played after the first quarter. They basically held Emmitt Smith to nothing after the
I,
first quarter.
in it wasn't that the AFC Championship game where they played the Chargers?
No, that was the year before. They beat the
That was
Colts.
okay. All
Yeah,
right.
they beat the Colts. And
Those
I was always secretly happy that they lost to the Chargers that year because they would have got destroyed by
but
anybody would have got
that was such
destroyed by the Niners.
that was one of the most physical games I've ever seen played,
The
especially
Steelers,
especially in the climate.
yeah, the fact that the Chargers met that kind of goes to show you how amazing those guys played that
Well,
day.
what's amazing? It's true, Joe, because you're a historian of the NFL. Dan Fouts had some great teams for the Chargers, but they could never win in Cincinnati. They could never win in Pittsburgh. They could never win in Buffalo. They didn't play well in the cold.
And that was, and even the one that they did play in the cold, I can't blame them too much. It was negative 58 degrees. Oh man, I don't. I look back at the '90s, and although it was the best decade of my life, I'd say from a whole in terms of just things that happened. I shouldn't say that actually. I've lived a pretty good life after that, but your high school years, your beginning of your college years are just different. There's a different feel. You're not as invested in the real stuff at that time. You take everything as it goes. You don't take things too seriously. But man, sports was brutal for me in the '90s. Man, the Lakers lost the Bulls in '91. The Steelers lost the Super Bowl in '95 to the Cowboys. The Dodgers kept just spitting out rookies of the year, but couldn't win a damn playoff game to save their life. It was a terrible decade. Great for hockey though. I actually enjoyed hockey in the '90s a
At
lot.
the end of the '90s were pretty good for you, though. You got Sean Green from the Blue Jays.
Yeah, but the Dodgers, the O'Malleys were running out of.
He was a really good player, Joe.
John, yes, I feel very confident that they can win on Saturday. But
Yeah, the O'Malleys are one thing, but Sean Green was a great baseball
no,
player.
he was good, great. But the thing is, what I'm seeing right now will forever destroy anything that the Dodgers did before.
Really?
Yes, because I have never seen since 2013. I've never seen the precision of an organization like the Castons and the Friedmans, and just the way. And of course, Friedman didn't come. He didn't come in 2013. It was a few years later.
That
But
I still get a kick out of that photo of him in the all white suit. That's hilarious.
I I don't I don't think I was very hard on Dave Roberts because I felt there was too many times he was relying on the sheets, and it's so hilarious. This goes back to the constant. I don't want to be an armchair quarterback. I'm not trying to be an armchair quarterback. I'm not trying to make a decision because I'm not in it. But damn it, I know sports. I know baseball. I know basketball. I know football very, very well. I know what's going on. I'm not stupid. Okay. I don't have to know how Major League Baseball works because, I don't know how, I don't have to play in the majors to know how it works. Okay. Why was it that in this year's run, he started doing things that were not analytical based? You don't bunt in analytics. You don't bunt. He bunts and he wins that game because of it against San Diego. I'm like, what? He leaves Bueller in. He leaves Triton in. This is not analytics. And that's some of the shit that he did in some of the big games that they lost. And I was pissed. Putting in Kershaw too many times. At what point are you going to stop hoping that Kershaw can make a difference? He can't. He's just not that guy. He's not that guy. Baseball is a completely different beast. It's probably the most unfair sport when it comes to an individual player. You can be great, absolutely phenomenal, and not be a good playoff performer.
Well, Joe, when just think about it overall. Yeah, you're talking about the Dodgers, and when you think about uh the Kings have won a couple Stanley Cups in the past decade. The Sparks, the Lakers, uh, the MLS team. I mean, there are championships up the yin yang in that city. You would think there'd be a kind of an personal competition amongst those front offices. And just thinking about this more and more makes me even more mad that it just doesn't look like Rob Palinka's ever had a firecracker up his ass to try and make the Lakers better. Like
He's not.
trying is one thing. Triumph, you need a little oomph. I don't
He,
see oomph out of him.
I don't think he's respected by the. And I don't know if I put too much weight on this because I'm not very.
Yeah, like come on, they're all
I'm not really a big fan of most of the NBA GMs because they
they're all
suck.
scumbags in one way or another, Joe. Lying to one another, misinformation. Like, let's be honest.
Look,
You
Genie
saw
hires.
you saw Draft Day with Kevin Costner. That's what
Yes,
it's like. That's what it's like.
boy, that movie was hilarious.
It was.
Totally ad lib, totally unrealistic, but I thought it was great. I thought it was great for TV. The the thing with Palinka is, and I'm still in complete astonishment at how this guy was so tight with Kobe. Makes me wonder, was he always like this? Did Kobe put him in check when he was around? Did he? Because I used the family thing before. I've seen family members behave themselves when the leader is still there, the mom or the dad, and then as soon as the mom and the dad are gone, they all of a sudden revert to who they really are. I tend to kind of lean towards that a little bit. I might be wrong. I don't know Palinka personally, but from a observation standpoint, he just looks like a slimy guy. He just looks like a guy that's just not.
Looks like he'd sell you a used car.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't like people who bullshit. Who
Bullshit.
they don't like. It's that's too easy. I don't know if I want to use that. They're fake, but these people are everywhere. I'm not just trying to put it all on Rob Palinka. We're talking about Rob Palinka because there's a
You mean the general inauthentic person,
yes.
not a
He's just
specific
like everyone
person.
else. He's just like everyone else. We
So a copy of a copy of a copy, like
Yeah,
Fight
yeah,
Club.
and it's enhanced because he's in charge of what we're going in. And you went from, let's say, someone like Mitch Kupchak, and before that, Jerry West. Would you ever think that Jerry West wasn't authentic? Matter of fact, he had to
Completely
scale back.
100% authentic.
He had to scale back because he's too intense. See, it I'm used to that. I'm
Look,
used to it.
look, Joe. He nearly had something of a mental nervous breakdown drafting Kobe and trying to sign Shaq. I think that really helped him step back.
The reason why he was stressed was he didn't know.
He was stressed for a lot of reasons.
Well, he was stressed because he didn't know if Orlando would match. Then all of a sudden, he's already traded Kobe, and then of course, Vladi. They don't talk about this. Vladi threatened to retire,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody talked him out of it. Of course, it was probably his wife. She's like, "What do you mean retire? You're making like $8 million a year. Fuck you. You're not retiring." Like it probably was never real, but it's still that it could have been something, right? You know, you don't know. You don't know how people are. Maybe they will
Oh,
retire.
and then he goes on to play with the other. What would, I'm thinking of a word Tony Soprano would use, but let's just say a lot of Europeans in Sacramento.
Well, and he ended up helping the Lakers win a championship, but in a different way. By volleyballing the
But
ball.
isn't that interesting though? Peja Stojakovic, Vlade Divac, Hito Turgulu, Chris Webber were all on the same team at one point, Joe, and they blew it up.
That's why it's hard. it's very hard for the focus. They should have won the following year. They were
It was
capable,
right. It was right there for them.
and
If they get past the Wolves, I think they actually beat us. I
in
hate to
'03,
say, yeah, I hate to say that, but
uh '03. Whew.
I think it would go 7. Anyway, they should have won at least one. With
They
the
lost to the Mavericks, didn't they?
they did
In
they
'03.
lost the Mavericks one
Yeah,
year
they
and
lost in 7.
the Wolves to the other.
'03 was '03. This wasn't '04. I would say '04 they probably do if they played like they did in '02. But looking at the Sacramento Dallas series,
Well,
Sacramento.
yeah, that see because the Kings and Wolves beat each other up in that series. So no matter who was playing the Lakers, you were chop suey.
That's a series that a lot of people don't talk enough about. That was a hell of a series. The Sacramento Mavericks series in '03. People forget about that one. That was a hell of a series. You had some you had some 2024 type scores in that game.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were battling. I think Dallas won one game like 140 to something, and then they
Well,
scored like 130
I've al-
points.
I've always said this, and I stand by it. When the Kings and Rick Adelman decided to trade white chocolate for Mike Bibby, I thought great because even though Rick Adelman didn't like the Jekyll and Hyde play, he was electric, man, and he gave them an electricity of which they never reclaimed. They could still shoot the three. They could still light it up, but he provided them with a little shot in the arm that they lost. And lo and behold, who ends up acquiring white chocolate years later, Joe?
Miami.
Pat Riley.
He should have been better. That guy was way too perfect for the NBA. He should have
Never
been
made an
better.
all-star game.
Yeah, he was ridiculously talented, and he should have been better. He should have been in a Hall of Fame, in my opinion. He had way too much talent, and adding the flash, my God, that's exactly what might have created something there in Sacramento that even Bibby couldn't do. Bibby was lights out in 2002, but he couldn't sustain it, and that's something that happens all the time. That happens all the time in sports. You have these guys. Oh, they're gonna. A team wins a championship, Denver, right away. Oh, this team's going to be a dynasty. I'm like, okay, hold your horses. Okay, every time somebody wins a championship, oh, they're going to win, the next 15 championships. No, they're not. Just because the Celtics won last year doesn't mean they're going to win this year. It
Yeah,
doesn't work like that.
I could always live with Fish given trying to give Mike Bibby a hard time.
Well, the other thing
Could
is with Fish,
always live with that.
the thing with Fish is I think he got a lot of these guys their big contracts. And Fish was struggling on defense against Mike Bibby, and he definitely struggled against Troy Hudson 2 years later. He got a big
Oh
contract
yeah.
too. That was bad. It was really bad. I mean, it was at a point where I remember Laker fans wanted to kill Derek Fisher. Like, dude, fucking guard something. How the hell are you ever going to get through? How are you letting Troy Hudson do his thing, do this to you? But it was basketball in the 2000s, man. My God, what a treat! Especially in the early 2000s when I was in San Diego, we didn't really have access to the road games a lot, so I had to go to sales joint to to watch the road games sometimes. And man, the atmosphere there was so amazing. The games would start at like 4 o'clock. I'd leave school, whatever, head on over there. They had it was called Mama Sales teriyaki chicken, the greatest teriyaki chicken to this day, still till this day. And it came with rice, and it came with the this mango salsa as well as potatoes, like a scoop of rice and a scoop of potatoes. I remember I used to always order it without the potatoes. I said, instead of the potato, can you put another scoop of rice? Because I just wanted to taste the rice and the teriyaki with the mango salsa. Absolutely die for it. And that's another place that I did like. They had a udon soup that I eat udon to this day because it was so good. Great atmosphere. I happened to meet Junior, not meet him like, hi, how you doing? He was playing kind of host when we were there, and we even took a picture with him. And there was this really cool blonde that was working there that kind of I kind of knew her from state, and she was really cool. I'm like, look, man, I don't want to bother Junior. She's like, oh no, don't worry about it. I'll get him to take a picture. And we ended up taking a picture with him. And no joke, okay, we there was stairs to go up to the second level. We all stood there. We were all doing our thing. He was talking to somebody, and then she said, Junior, can you come in here real quick? When you look at the picture, it looked like Junior was kind of like standing there with a pose, right? No
Yeah.
joke. He was in that picture for a maybe 1 second. He took the picture and then went back to doing what he was doing. And that was the discussion of the night, by the way. We were dying laughing. We saw the picture later because that was when we were developing film still.
Okay.
We saw the picture, and when we saw it, we were expecting like kind of like a fuzzy entrance and maybe exit. Dude, it looked pristine. Like he was sitting there posing. I'm like, that motherfucker has taken enough pictures in his life where he knows how to take a picture. Oh man, good food, good people. One of the best celebrities I guess I was around. Had a lot of good.
I'm
Losing
sur-
Junior in San Diego,
I'm
losing Tony Gwynn.
surprised you weren't a la mode and had a Polaroid, Joe.
I think we were getting out of the Polaroids in the early 2000s. I think that was kind of getting phased out. We had those portable ones,
Okay.
and you know, again,
Before
you
before
used to.
before the see, I don't really remember those ones a lot. I remember the Motorola's because I had one.
My 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 parents never owned a Polaroid. I don't remember them having a Polaroid.
Neither
They
did
probably did.
mine. My mom was a fantastic photographer. She had a really cool Nikon um, extend camera that was just fantastic. So yeah, but that's a cool picture. I've seen it. Joe is 100%, and yeah, like that. If that if that's the case, yeah, it looks like he took like a million pictures like that before. Like he just knew how to pose and just vogue on out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still when I go to Mission Valley, which where that area was. Mission Valley was where Jack Murphy slash Qualcomm Stadium was. Now it's the Snapdragon Stadium for the Aztecs, and they have all other types of things there. The atmospheres are the same without Tony Gwynn and Junior Seau. Those guys were the brain and the heartbeat of that town, and it's missing. It's I know not having an NFL team there plays a huge part too, but not having those guys there really kind of took a little bit of the spirit away because they were just great. My friends, I never got a chance to meet Tony Gwynn, but I have friends who were with him all the time, and they were extremely complimentary of who he was.
I always wondered because didn't that the record books we had up here, Joe, were kind of scant, right? But I always wondered early on if Tony Gwynn played a second sport because just the his mobility, the way he could move, and lo and behold, did you know he was drafted by the Los Angeles Clippers?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Then they were the San Diego Clippers at the time.
right.
Mhm.
They were the San Diego Clippers.
Yeah, it was. He was a phenomenal athlete. He loved In-N-Out Burger, by the way. That's probably why he gained a lot of weight.
You know it's tough, man. You know it's tough, and I saw it working a little bit, and this has happened to too many people now, either indirectly or directly. Di- Um, so did you play football or grow up with like a lot of farm boys, farm guys?
Dairy Boys.
Yeah. All right. So they like spit. Do you know what spit is? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
So Tony Gwynn liked it, right? God rest his soul as well. Adam Yauch, MCA from the Beastie Boys. He liked spit and tobacco too. And you know who else liked spitting tobacco, Joe? Especially when he played. I'll give you a hint. Especially when he played in the USFL.
Jim Kelly.
Yeah, He's got bad oral cancer, and you
He's
can all trace it back to that spitting tobacco, Joe. That like
well, unfortunately,
that can really get in your lymph nodes, and once it gets in your lungs and your thyroid, that's it.
my high school friend, and I knew her ex. He became her ex husband. Scotty Runyon, rest in peace. I know you guys don't know him, but he died of cancer. His dad was my football coach for years. He died of cancer 2 years ago, and he was a chore.
Yeah,
And he didn't last. He got cancer, and he was out in like I think a year, maybe less.
because it's like pure going right into your throat, right into your throat.
I don't know, man.
I can understand why they outlawed it for the kids though, Joe. Like
It
if you're 8, 7, 16, 17, you want to do that shit, sure. But it shouldn't be advertised to like 11, 12 year olds.
No, they don't do that anymore. They know it's bad. And Darren, by
Yeah.
the way, that's not true. AD didn't. They've been trying to make AD look. You obviously know I'm on LeBron hard. I'm a. I'll get on LeBron on some things here and there, but you can't blame LeBron for AD deciding to dominate last night. I'm sorry, you can't do that. That's not fair. That's not
He's a
right.
center. He's a center. He's not a power forward.
Okay, he AD needs to make a decision too. That's why I'm back and forth with AD. It's a tennis match right now with AD. When he's on, he's on. When he's not, it's frustrating. I, no. AD decides to play like this when he decides to play like this. When he doesn't, that's when things go to crap. But you also have to factor in who is he playing against? A rookie center. And Triple J had a pretty good offensive night. Again, he can't guard everybody, right?
There are only a few teams though, Joe, that you could offer him to. So top 5 teams right now. Who would you offer Anthony Davis to?
I would first, if I had a choice, if I was GM, Oklahoma City.
Because he wants some of Presti's first round picks.
And they're not all going to be lottery picks. They're all protected, right? But you're going to be able to get some good role players out of those things. And also,
And you could also ask for one of the
I
other
want 2
teams.
starters out of that deal, by the
Yeah.
way, too. I want 2 legitimate starters from their team.
Jalen Williams for one.
Yes. And
Start with him. Ooh. I would. So
we know.
given the salary, it'd probably be Hartenstein.
Yes. Because they would give Hartenstein.
Yeah, so
And they would
Williams,
give,
Hartenstein, like 3 first round picks. Then
yes.
okay.
I think 4 would be better.
I think with the Gobert and the
Yeah.
What was the other one? The Mitchell trade. You got to have at least 4. So
4 first round picks, and then you have your center, and you have a guy that's could be.
he's a 20-point per game playmaker.
Yes, you start. So you do 2 things. You get a center now that can hold his own to a degree with the centers that are starting to come up, right? Then you have a guard where you fulfill that guard thing that the NBA is about these days. Then you have 4 first-round picks where you can start accumulating talent and or use it for something else to go get other talent. That's how you start. That's how you build the son of a gun, right? And then you're going to have your own as well. That's how you build it. And then for Oklahoma City, if you have Chet and Shea with AD, fuck, you got to win it now. You got to win it now.
You would be favored over Boston if you did
For
play them
sure.
in the
For
finals.
sure. And that team would be perfect for AD.
Now, if Presti told you no, who's your second call? Houston?
I don't really like anybody in Houston.
All right.
I mean, I take Sengun, but I don't know if that team would be. That would be a team where that would be a team that.
Okay. Okay. Orlando.
Still not enough talent. Not enough talent of that without kind of depleting them.
Worldwide West calls you.
Okay, I was going to say New York, but they've already given up a lot of first round picks. So I don't know if that it might have to be.
They have.
That's a good question. I didn't think about a second one.
You have to.
I guess Atlanta. Would you call Atlanta?
Would you call the San Antonio Spurs?
They won't do a deal with us as long as Pop is there.
If you put AD beside Wembanyama, I bet they would talk to you.
Yeah, but they'll want to fleece.
They could say, nah. No. It would be the reverse. It would be the reverse Pau Gasol, except they're paying more.
Who would they get? But what kind of talent are you getting back? You're going to get Keldon Johnson?
You would get Johnson, Vassell. Vassell, you get Johnson. You would get someone else. You'd get 2 to 3 first-round picks. Probably a couple of them unprotected. Like that, the Spurs need to be in win now mode with Victor Joe, because they haven't surrounded him with enough talent yet to do that.
Do you see them doing that?
Yes, I think there's going to be an emphasis on that. They could do it. Presti got the Thunder to multiple Western Conference Finals. There needs to be an urgency here. This is Wembanyama's second year. You're likely going to get into the play-in. You need to surround him with actual talent.
I don't know who has enough. The reason why I pick Oklahoma is they're the only ones that can give us talent, get us draft picks, and then
there is another team. What if you, instead of trading LeBron to the Golden State Warriors, what if you traded Anthony Davis to the Golden State Warriors?
You don't have talent either. I'm looking for talent. We have to have 2 legitimate starters, and then at least 4.
So it's like slim pickings. There's only like a couple of those teams.
Oklahoma City would be stupid not to get them, because that's their ticket to winning a championship right away. Like, they don't got to wait anymore. Granted, there'd be an injury that could happen, but let's say at the end of the year, let's just hypothetically say this: end of the year, Oklahoma City loses in the Western Conference Finals, and now they're like, shit. What are we going to do now? Are we going to just keep going? Do you make Chet a center and put AD at the 4?
No, AD's still your center.
Okay. So how do you think Mark would play that, Mr. Dagnall?
Yeah, that's AD at the 5, Chet at the 4.
Is Chet a 4 though?
He can play a 4. He can play a 4.
Okay.
Play a 4. Your 3, you're probably going Lou Dort, and then your 2 is Alex Caruso, and then Shea. So Shea,
that's a hell of a run.
Shea, Caruso, Dort, Holmgren, and AD.
They're winning it all with that.
There's a lot of defense in that group. There's a lot of offense. There's a lot of blending of offense. Like Shea and AD could live on pick and pops, pick and rolls, in transition. I think that's the best big man you could put beside Shea.
They don't have enough talent, Johnny. Dallas doesn't have enough talent to send back, and I don't know if that dipshit Cuban would do anything like that without trying to fleece us. That's why I don't trust San. That's why I didn't mention San Antonio or Dallas because of who runs those teams. Even though, well, actually, has that changed this year? Is Mark Cuban still in charge? Does he say he doesn't have
No,
the final say anymore, right? That's
no,
done, right?
no. So who really runs the Mavericks now is Nico.
And it's not Mark Cuban anymore.
He's more of an ambassador, Joe.
I believe I agree with the ass part of ambassador. Let's see here. I haven't delved
No,
into this.
what's his name there? Adelson. The Adelsons own the Mavericks now.
So, billionaire Miriam Adelson, Sheldon Adelson.
Yeah. That old country Yiddish money.
Yeah, we know about that. Anyways, yeah. So, I think we've gone through the gamut of the nightcap. I'm about to run out of my nightcap here. So, to put an end on the 2-hour run here, and again, I apologize for not being here last night. I was indisposed, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
And
not in the Forrest Gump way.
no, not at all. So let's talk about Thursday's matchup as well as Saturday's matchup against the Kings. Are you expecting a loss in both, a split, or possibly 2 wins?
So they never for some reason they never play well my birthday. I don't know why. I don't know why. There's something about those late December games. I don't know what it is, Joe. They either show up hard or they don't show up at all.
Why wouldn't they show up for 2 Sacramento games, especially with the gap? And by the way,
Because
did we ever find out? I didn't get a chance to see the aftermath as well, the post game. Did LeBron ever discuss why he was out?
his foot.
It was just his foot. So what was his personal business crap?
He was very demurred about that.
Okay. Anyways, I don't know. Did Sabonis get hurt tonight?
Let me look that up.
Bears. Wow. That game ended up being close. Denver won by 1. Wow, a lot of 1-point wins today. Detroit won by 1. Chicago won by 1. Denver won by 1. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to, as soon as I get off air, I'll go check out
No,
everything.
I don't see anything about it.
Took a bad fall. You can't fall in the NBA anymore without being out for 2 weeks these days, huh? Yeah, Raiders are. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with the Raiders. I don't know what
They need a quarterback. You need to address that position.
But anyways, we're gonna go back. So what's your assessment on Thursday's game and Saturday? What do you think?
I think you lose Thursday and you win Saturday.
Really?
I think it's a close loss.
If they play like they did last night, I can see them sweep. But are they capable of doing that 2 games in a row in Sacramento?
If you trust to keep Max Christie in the starting lineup, Joe, I think you can reliably bet on at least a decent defensive performance.
So
So
you
if
were
you
impressed. You were impressed with the defense last night against Joe.
I was impressed with the game plan. Yeah, is that going to work against Sacramento? We'll see. They're fast as well. They play a fast. They play a fast brand. Except when DeMar gets in the game, then it slows down a little bit.
Which is what's caused the problem there in Sacramento. And Mike Brown is on the hot seat right now.
Mr. Potato Head is on the hot seat.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, we're gonna call it a night here, Sean. I'm gonna let Mr. Glassford get ready. I believe he's gonna have a show in 10 minutes. I'm probably gonna take a little bit of a break, come back a little bit later. But again, thanks guys for understanding for me not being here last night. I hope we didn't bore you with some of the football talk. I know sometimes we can veer off here on the Nightcap, but we're here. We're not an a la carte type show. We have a lot of good stories and other sporting type things that we could say here. But then again, I know the peeps like that too. But until Gerald gets here, I'm gonna phase out a little bit so you can get back in here and prepare for the show at 10 o'clock. I will probably chime in a little bit later. But again, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Lakers showed me a little bit of guts yesterday that I didn't think they had. I know it's an 82-game season. At some point, they're going to win these kind of games. But the fact that they won the way they did was actually impressive. I thought they dominated pretty much the entire game. And even when AD was out, they didn't really kind of phase out at all. They kind of held their own. So good for you guys. And I don't know if there's going to be a trade that's going to fix this in any way, but we're going to have a lot of time between now and February, the next 2 months.
And it's great seeing a coach do this on the sidelines rather than hands in the pockets, staring blankly out into space.
No.
Sometimes I wonder if Darvin Ham was even in Los Angeles in the Staples Center, or if he was in another universe with his hands in his pockets sometimes.
Bad optics. Bad optics. $7,000. Why would Minnesota trade Nasri to NB03? NB03.
Because Tim
Absolutely
Connolly's,
not. I do not want Lonzo Ball.
You know what, Joe? In that case, Tim Connolly would have had a little bit too much cognac.
Why would $7,000? How would that trade work? How would we get Randall and
what?
Why would they do that? Why would they do DiVincenzo and Randall for Rui and Reeves?
Because Tim Connolly had too much cognac.
Because maybe they don't want to sign Randall.
That's the only. That's the only. Yeah, and we're not taking the great ginger Italian stallion Dante DiVincenzo.
I'd do that trade. At least we'd have a shooter, consistent shooter. But the problem is Randall is not consistent. And plus, I want to get back into picking somebody that's.
When's the last time a redhead played on the Lakers? I got to think about that. Because Luke Walton wasn't really a redhead. Oh my God, this is getting me.
Was the closest.
Yeah, but
he wasn't redhead though. He was blonde. He was dirty blonde.
Yeah.
You got it, Gerald. Okay, so we are not going to have a show in 10 minutes. Gerald is enjoying himself at Reliance Stadium. Still, I'm assuming. Are you going to go have lobster tails and shit too, Gerald?
He can't. His doctor told him he can't eat that shit anymore.
Just stay away from the butter. Use cocktail sauce. Or did they already? Well, they probably bake that stuff in butter anyways, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mo better butter. Yeah, so I'm sorry. Update, guys. We are not going to have a post game or a snack pack or anything tonight at 10. Looks like the Nightcap tonight fulfilled everyone's wishes and dreams. So we're going to stay on for a few more minutes here. End it at 10 o'clock. Again, thank you all for being here tonight. I was planning on to be here a couple hours so that Gerald can come at 10. But looks like Gerald is going to take the night off, and we'll be back tomorrow to probably discuss some more detail on Thursday's game. And again, we have a nice break here with these guys. Hopefully they don't have any any excuses on Thursday, which I don't know.
What excuses would work?
They were not in shape enough to play Thursday because they had too much of a break. Focus. Sometimes focus is a problem. Kind of like I don't know. I don't want to equate it to baseball, but when baseball has those buys for like 3 or 4 days and they're rolling, maybe sometimes that breaks the rhythm. Although this year, I think was the most, in my opinion, probably the best season when it came to people taking breaks because the Dodgers losing Game 5 to the Mets gave Freddie Freeman enough rest for Game 1 because had they not lost Game 5, they would have started the World Series 3 days earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We probably do not see Freddie Freeman start Game 1 on a Tuesday. So thank you, Mets, for beating our bullpen in Game 5 and thinking you're all that, and then you getting your ass waxed in Game 6. Oh man, I didn't get a chance to talk a lot of baseball tonight, but again, we'll have
Well,
to.
who do you think's made out best at the winter meetings other than the Dodgers, Joe?
It's funny. I'm looking at baseball as a whole. Like, what exactly are these owners really wanting? We know Steve Cohen at the Mets wants to win, right? He's the richest guy of the group. And I've never seen a team that has the highest payroll get shit on for being cheap. The Yankee fans are absolutely fucking just out of their minds. Actually, no, that's a compliment. They're stupid. They hate on Cashman. They've been hating on Cashman for 25 years anyways. Okay, here comes Gerald.
No, don't have to stay on another hour.
What? Why?
We're going to be on tomorrow.
So why are you yelling at me?
It's because you're like saying it and like.
Well, you said you'd be here at 10.
My daughter's like, I didn't say be here at 10. I said I wouldn't be available till 10. But since you've already done 2 hours, you're good.
Oh, well, I thought you wanted to be here at 10, not me.
No, I just would have said the same thing I'm going to say now, and that the Raiders suck, and seeing them live.
$7,000. Well, I'm not going to say the Raiders suck.
I'll say the Raiders suck. I just watched them.
The best Dazed and Confused weed movie ever in my time is the Harold Kumar movies.
If Sean was with me there watching live, he would have said the Raiders suck.
Yes, I would have, Gerald. Yes, I would have.
It's not about them sucking.
Yes, it is about them sucking.
It is about them sucking. The Falcons, the only reason the Falcons won was that they were both so boring. Both teams, they were both so boring.
The clock ran out, Gerald. If the clock didn't run out, the Raiders would have ran down the field. Yeah.
Well, they lulled the Raiders to sleep because it was such a boring game. And then finally the Raiders went into 2-minute offense. They scored their touchdown. And then because they can't manage the clock, managed to go ahead and have a desperate 40-yard, two cracks at 40-yard Hail Mary to try and get in the end zone. Even though Riddler, I could probably throw a pass better than Riddler did the entire game. Can you
explain something to me? Who scheduled these games this year? Or is it just
idiots.
The NFL? And the ratings are higher than ever. What happened?
I don't think the Raiders and the Falcons are winning you any ratings. This was a bad game, Joe. This was a really bad. That offense for the Raiders.
Gerald. I told Joe that was the second most painful Raider game I've ever watched. The only other painful game was when the Chargers were up 6-0 with 6:46 left, and Wade Wilson caught James Jett on a slant, and the Raiders won 7-6. Other than that, that was the worst offense. And I remember, God damn it, I remember when the Raiders had Andrew Walter as a quarterback, and Andrew Walter played better than Desmond Ridder. Andrew Walter.
I will just say this, Magic Man. It was so sad to see Jacoby Myers being like a version of Cam Reddish and Gabe Vincent, because he was a cardio bro for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters, doing nothing. They weren't throwing the ball. He was doing nothing but running up in routes, doing nothing because they couldn't throw him the ball because Ritter stuck. Really, absolutely sucks. Absolutely sucks. And this team horribly coached. Yeah. How do you get a what is it? A punt blocked and a extra point blocked. Yeah. So
Well,
and a safety. They gave up a safety.
See, Gerald, this season is more and is also more of a credit to Arthur Smith because he turned chicken shit into chicken salad last year with Desmond Ritter. Because the Falcons were in a lot of one-score games that they ended up losing.
He's terrible.
He's awful.
Yeah, Joe, if you want to just shut it down for the night, we're coming back tomorrow anyways. So,
All right,
yeah.
well, if that's the case,
speaking of which, Gerald, still haven't had a chance to talk to Chris yet. But who would you say he's more angling towards as a Giants fan, Shador or Cam Ward?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's ask him tomorrow night. Will you be here tomorrow night?
I'll be here tomorrow night. With
I'll force him to be on the show tomorrow night. No more him flying in and giving me that excuse.
Yeah, come on, Chris. Come on. Don't play.
Well,
look.
He did watch the Giants in New York last week, so I can't blame him too much.
No. Here's what I'll say to that. We may be the two worst teams in the NFL, but win or lose, Gerald, damn it, Giants and Raiders fans show up on Sunday, unlike some other fan bases.
Yep.
I won't mention Bengals,
there you go.
Titans, Jaguars.
Oh, we play you guys. Your team plays the Jaguar. That's the last home game of the year. So, but
it's
yeah,
a great thing I've got Desmond Ritter starting.
At least
they're terrible too.
At least the majority of the crowd, Sean, you can be rest at ease, was Raiders fans. It was 70 or 65, 35, about that, I'd say roughly.
Okay.
You know, there's a section that was red, but for the most part, it was just sprinkled in. Decent crowd. Actually filled on all three areas as far as, just here and there, some gaps missing. But yeah, about 80% was filled. Yeah. And most of it was Raiders fans. Depressed and bored Raiders fans, but most of it was Raider fans. Yeah. Not like when Joe Soro's team comes to town. That was a Steelers home game. Yes.
It was.
The reason why the Steelers have a lot of road dominance is because when the steel mills closed down in the late 60s, early 70s, everyone dispersed.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I first started here, I knew a few people that had migrated from Chicago, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New York, and they had all come to, back in the mid 90s, everybody was flocking to Vegas. Now, a lot of them have, parted ways, but at that time it was, a lot of people coming in.
Definitely, Joe. The 70s, the Ford and the Chevy plants closed in Michigan. Yeah, as Gerald was saying.
Yep. A lot of stuff was going on in the late 60s and early 70s.
Damn you, Jimmy Carter.
That was way before Jimmy Carter, but it's kind of eerily similar.
Didn't an actual blackout happen under him? Like an actual blackout. Just saying.
If you read the history of what was going on around that time, there are sometimes bad circumstances to good people.
Hey, Joe, a peanut farmer from Georgia became president. That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know.
That's what makes America the greatest country in the world, right there.
Well, when you look at things in life, doesn't matter if it's politics or sports or whatever, you find out why. If you really dig a little bit, find out why. The Steeler fan base, why I mentioned that is they equate it to kind of like a college thing where people are traveling and watching the Steelers. I'm like, no, they're not. People aren't traveling from Pittsburgh to go to. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't people that do that, but it's not that. They're not traveling.
No, but Joe,
they're already there
because of like you said, the dispersal and kind of winding down of the steel industry. Pennsylvania, particularly Pittsburgh, is huge in the medical technology industry, and they have a lot of disposable income.
Well, all right, guys, I'm going to be heading on out.
I'm I'm gonna head out. Thanks, Gerald. I'm gonna head out
Thank
in a
you.
minute here.
I will see you
leave it at
guys
this.
tomorrow. I'll see you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
See you
See ya.
tomorrow, Gerald.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you,
The
Joe.
Steelers have not had a losing record.
Thank you, everyone. I'm waiting
Thanks.
for one of
Are
his
you leaving yet? We're
Yes.
trying to finish here. All right.
He's just doing to you what you would do to him.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that.
It's pretty well played.
The Steelers don't necessarily give you any reason to not watch them because they're constantly competing. I believe they haven't lost less than 5 games. I think they were 5-11. I got to look at 1988. Hold on. Let me get this real quick, and then we'll put a button on this. 1988 Steelers.
Speaking of which, Joe,
5-11. Yeah, they haven't lost. They haven't lost less. I've never seen them lose 5 in my time. They've never lost less than 5 games. It's 5 games that in '88. They lost 6 in 2003. Thank God, because that gave them the 11th pick in that draft. That next draft, they got Big Ben. So they know how to run a football team. Let's just put it that way. Now I'm not going to front either. I'm not very happy with Mike Tomlin as a coach. I think there's better. I kind of felt last year that it was time for him to go somewhere else, and I thought the Steelers had a good chance to maybe leverage him to get some picks and get a new coach. But
I actually think Khan is a better GM than Colbert was, Joe.
Colbert was masterful, though, in the 2000s. If you look at the draft from 2000 to 2010, you could not have had a better draft for a decade. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal.
Khan is really shored up their salary cap, though. They got
I know, $7,000. I know.
They got Alex Highsmith on a deal, man. On a deal.
Look, it's hard.
And don't forget something here. Even though he's one of the most productive players in the NFL, if you came to TJ Watt and said, TJ, would you be willing to take a pay cut if it made us better? He would say yes. He's one of the few. He's probably the only edge rush, maybe Crosby, but one of the few who would take less to make the team better.
Hey, $7,000. It's harder to win Super Bowls than it is to win NBA titles. So the Lakers have won 6 championships since 2000. The Steelers have won 2 Super Bowls since
Every
2000.
decision you make in a Super Bowl year usually ends up being the right one. Mm-hmm. You hit the right flyer on the right guy. Your second round pick blossomed halfway through the year, and you were able to make him a starter. Usually, Joe, there's a comeback story somewhere. Somebody kicked around for a couple of years, couldn't find a steady home. All of a sudden, he fits like a glove. Marshawn Lynch. That one still hurts Bills fans. But anyway, that's usually what happens. You have to hit all the right marks in a Super Bowl year.
Hey, be nice, $7,000. Otherwise, I'm going to change your name to $0,000. Punk. We'll put a button on it. You put a button on it. 2009 Super Bowl was funny with that pick 6.
Yeah, it's going to take a series of moves for us to turn this ship around. One or two things has to happen. One is a ghost appears in a dream for Rob Pelinka and shows him his future if he doesn't have any urgency to make a trade. And the ghost of Christmas past shows him his past follies, and he ends up turning this around. Which
that'd be a funny movie to watch. I'd watch it. I'll be honest. I'd be watching it.
Starring Rob Lowe. Or two, Joe. This happens in a series of moves that happens over a couple of years, which I think is more likely going to happen. Because one thing I don't like about these situations, and we'll end it here is that Pelinka is unlikely to be the executive of the Lakers in 5 years. So he doesn't care about the picks 5 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now. That's what worries me. See, he has his finger on the button, Joe.
That was weird.
Yeah,
I
that was
think
weird.
I think and I think the issue will still be Genie as the owner.
You can't trust a guy who's got nothing to lose.
I still don't trust Genie. I don't think Genie's capable of running this team. It's not just, even if she was sort of good at doing what she did, it's still not enough. The current landscape in sports right now is you can't really have a mom and pop operation running a conglomerate like the LA Lakers. It needs to be in somebody else's hands. The days of the mom and pops are over, except in the NFL, and even those teams that have the Jim Irsay's and the McCaskies and the Bidwells. You look at those organizations and they still are. And then Mark, I'm sorry to say, Mark Davis, they're still just not. They're not. They don't really know what they're doing. They all play within the same rules, and I know it's different than in baseball and even in the NBA to a certain extent. Although they're starting to close that gap, it's still, there's not a. You look at someone, and I know it's going to look like I'm favoring this, but seriously, look what the Dodgers did after they won the World Series. They could not wait to put the skid steers into the ground to enhance that stadium and the clubhouses and the dugouts. They made 100 million, 200 million, 300, whatever the hell they made this last year from what winning the championship, and they put that money right back into the business. Yes, I know they have money, but there are plenty of rich guys that don't spend money.
You can spend money to make money.
They don't do it, but they also have an image that they want to portray. They want to be a first-class organization. And how can you not admire that? How can you not admire the fact that these guys are there's and I don't get guys being in the video game world right now. A lot of these execs, a lot of these big studios, they all have money, more money than God, too. They're pieces of shit with money. They don't have any pride in running a class organization, business, whatever. They don't give a fuck. All they care about is making money so they can go buy their third, their eighth yachts. They don't care about anyone. These guys give a shit. They would not be doing this unless they gave a shit. So there was a time where Dr. Buss ran a similar operation, even though he was a mom and pop operation. He was the one starting and saying, I'm going to pay my guy $20 million for the next 20 years, when everyone was like, whoa, what the hell are you doing? He wanted to pay Michael Cooper when they didn't have to pay Michael Cooper. He was going to pay Kareem what he wanted to keep him there instead of going to New York. He did all that because he knew he wanted to create that image, and it worked, and it always works. The Niners is an even better example because at that time I knew a little bit more about that. Eddie DeBartolo, every time you talk to any Niner, whether it was someone that was homegrown or whether someone they got in free agency, always the same response: first class. Everything's first class, from the damn buffet that they'd have at the facility was first class. Everything was first class. And look what it did. Look what it does to the psyche, to the mental part. Shohei Ohtani, you know he has an opt-out, Sean? You know when he has an opt-out? If Andrew Friedman gets another job for some reason. That's how much respect he has for that man. And look, 1 year, look what it did. And it's going to continue and continue. And the only thing, the numbskulls, and I'm going to put a button on this and then head out. Those who aren't in the know, which is pretty much 99% of the population, because they're too busy jerking themselves off because they want to feel better with themselves. You sit there and you say everything's about money, everything's about money, everything's about money. Yet this guy deferred his money for 10 years so that his team can win. And what does he return to them? A 50-50 year, an MVP season, a world championship. And I fully expect them to win back-to-back. I know it's going to be difficult because baseball's like that. And if they don't, it's okay. I get it. I'll still be a Dodger fan. But my God, you can't say that they haven't done everything in their power to win a second in a row, which has never happened in Dodger history and hasn't been done in the National League since the Big Red Machine in 1975 and 76. It just doesn't happen in the National League. It's very rare. But we're coming. Dodgers are coming. And the Dodgers have set up themselves like the 1980 and early 90s 49ers. You're on mute, Trump.
I didn't know that, Joe. I was going to say the last team that came the closest was who? The Giants? Because they won 3 in, what, 6
5
years?
5
5
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that Bruce Bochy was managing phenomenally. They hit on almost every young talent that they had, and they had Buster Posey, who was what's a good example? It was kind of like the Johnny Bench of our generation.
Bruce Bochy, four-time World Series champion.
4-time World Series champ. It should have last year should have told you all that managing by this works. You're not going to win every year, but you're going to win a lot. You're going to win a lot when you have the right talent. The Rangers were paid for everything they could pay for. They were paying Simeon.
Before we go, Joe, I remember texting you earlier in the summer, and I asked you if there was any chance the Padres could catch the Dodgers. And you said no way. Which team do you think is the biggest threat to the Dodgers? The Diamondbacks or the Padres?
Padres. But they have probably one more year to do it because I think they're going to start sending everybody out.
You just think ownership is that trigger happy?
I just think
because I heard that's one of the most beautiful ballparks in America.
Absolutely, I actually in a lot of ways.
Park.
I would prefer to go to the games in San Diego than LA, but it's not because of the stadium. It's just because I have a friend that literally lives 100 feet away, and I can park in his driveway, in his underground garage, and just walk to the park. It takes me probably 60 seconds to walk from his front door to the gate. And it's a beautiful stadium, and I could actually see the game from his balcony too, if I ever really want to. Well, not his balcony, but the restaurant that's in his.
They stopped doing that for Wrigley Field. You used to be able to do that in Wrigley Field all the time.
Well, see, a lot of this also has to do with, again, pardon my ignorance, if this thing changes. I don't know. We'll see. I like the fact that the Padres were who they were. I like the rivalry. I like the shit talking. It was very similar to a Ravens Steeler thing. I want that. I want there to be.
Did they bring back the chicken?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't see them really. Hardly ever. He might still be there, but not really. No.
They should bring back the chicken.
But Peter Seidler died last year, and they were spending a lot of money because I think he wanted to win a World Series before he died. So I think now the new setup, new ownership. I don't know if a lot of these large corporations, sports teams, whatever. I don't know if they're worried about a recession because it's weird because other than the Yankees, Mets, and the Dodgers. Everyone seems to be penny pinching still, and Genie's penny pinching as well. So I don't know. I don't know if there's something that's going to happen in 2024 that's scaring people, but that's kind of where I stand on that. As far as the biggest threat, in general, the Dodgers. Oof, I don't think there's a single team that's going to be a threat. The only thing that's going to threaten them is injuries. And even then, they went into the playoffs with not a single ace. Not a single ace. Gavin Stone, who logged in more minutes.
Oh, if you played the Yankees again, it might be, and depending on injuries, It might be a little different because now they got Max Fried, and Mookie Betts couldn't hit Max Fried. He's 0 for 30 in lifetime against Max Fried, Joe.
The issue with the Yankees, though, is I think they got to get Christian Walker to kind of mend the Soto deal. But they're going to have to fork up a lot of money for him.
You couldn't see. Here's the problem, Joe. Can you afford the potential fallout of paying Juan Soto that much money as a New York Yankee that he's making more than Aaron Judge? Eventually, there's going to be a ripple effect there.
You can't think that way.
But you have to, because Aaron Judge is the man, not Juan Soto.
Yeah, the problem though with that narrative right now is that Aaron Judge looks like Barry Bonds before 2002.
Well, I mean, is technically speaking, does anybody make more than Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies right now?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
but see, you can't do that. You think Freeman and Betts are upset that Ohtani's making $70 million a year?
it's rare. It's rare you find a guy like Steph Curry who's willing to let KD make more than him. That's really rare, Joe.
First of all, there's a lot of factors in that question. First of all, if Soto doesn't play in this year's Yankees team, they're not going to the World Series.
Probably
and Aaron
not.
Judge, Aaron Judge has a major problem in the playoffs. He cannot hit. He cannot be Aaron Judge in the regular season. Right now, he looks like Peyton Manning before he won the championship in 2006. You can't do that. You gotta be next level.
These Fresno State guys, Joe, somehow they disappear in the playoffs.
Now again, you're right.
Derek Carr, Aaron Judge. I don't know what it is about Fresno State.
This is not something new. This has happened to a lot of great players. Baseball is a very difficult sport to put on one player a lot of times because number one, when you get into playoffs, everything is rigged for you to fail. They don't care about the same things they do in the regular season, and you only get a chance to really make up that problem is 1 out of every 10 at bats, and you only get 4 shots on average during the game. And you're already going to hit once by average, right? So now you're asking somebody to hit what, 2? Or at least hit 1? I don't know. And it's when you look at the numbers and you look at kind of how things play out, it's not that what did Steinbrenner call Dave Winfield? Mr. May?
Yeah, Mr. May.
I thought that was hilarious. I just learned that this year, by the way. I never knew that that's what he was called. And then you look at
by the way, Dave Winfield and Randy Johnson are only 2 guys that killed seagulls during a baseball game.
My God, the timing on that was pretty nuts.
Well, it exploded.
The thing is with when you look at baseball, I'm going to put it in perspective for everyone. If the Dodgers don't pick up Jack Flaherty, they don't win the World Series. If they don't pick up Edman at the deadline, they don't win the World Series. If Yamamoto doesn't become an ace in the playoffs, they don't win the World Series. If Ohtani doesn't hit that 3-run jack in Game 1 against the San Diego Padres, they don't win that game. They don't win the World Series.
Breaks.
Right? What if Bueller doesn't heal up at the right time, they don't win the World Series? What's the theme there with all this? The theme is every little thing makes you win a World Series. One of those things doesn't happen, they don't win the World Series, no matter how talented Ohtani is, Betts, Freeman, all that shit. You don't sign Teoscar, you don't have the number 1 seed. You don't probably have home field. Who knows what happens there, right? There's so many things in baseball that do not equate to winning it all because of one little thing that gets missed. You can't. and that's just what it is. It's no matter how good your team is. You
It's
look
an
at the
un-
Yankees,
it-
which should prove to you how amazing those Yankee team were in the '90s, in the late '90s and early 2000s. They they uh, they started signing the Giambis and the Musinas and all those guys after they won the 4 championships: 96, 90, 98, 99, 2000, right? But they didn't win until '09. Like they even through 2000, like 2001 through 2008. You're talking about 9 seasons. They didn't win a championship, and they had all. Steinbrenner was signing everyone, anyone that could breathe. He was signing. He even signed Randy Johnson for a minute there, until Randy's like, "Yeah, this isn't my cup of tea. I'm not a New York guy." His first day in New York, he was already yelling at a camera guy, telling him to shut up. Don't talk
Yeah.
back to me. I thought that was the funniest thing I ever heard in my life, by the way, at the time. Imagine telling a grown ass man, don't talk back to me, that you don't know. Oh, man. Anyways, we're going to talk.
Joe, I might not get to ask you this question ever again, so I'm just gonna ask you now. No baseball streak happens. The Montreal Expos play the New York Yankees in the World Series. Who wins the World Series, Joe?
In 94?
Yeah,
You think the Yankees would have made it that year?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. Who would you have said? The Mariners? Well, okay, before we head out, I'm gonna look at the baseball standings from '94 before the streak.
That was Montreal's best team ever, no doubt.
Yes,
Felipe Alou was just killing it that year. If I had to pick,
the Yankees were 70-43, Joe. After that, it was the White Sox who had the second best record in the American League, and in the National League, the Expos had 74 wins.
I got a
And
better question.
yeah,
If Montreal wins that World Series, do they move to Washington?
oh wow. No,
Why?
I don't think that because I think if the Expos ended up winning that World Series, that would have been enough for the public to help fund a new stadium
Why didn't they?
in downtown
Why
Montreal.
didn't they? It wasn't
I
like
do,
Montreal.
I
Montreal
don't know why.
competed.
There's so much real estate in downtown Montreal. You could have put a
Montreal was
stadium.
it always competed. Okay, they always, Pete Rose, for God's sakes, played there. Randy Johnson played there. Why? Why did they fuck that up?
That's a
Did they
great question. That's a great
that
question, Joe.
bothers me. That bothers me. I'm actually still bothered by Vancouver not keeping the Grizzlies. I wanted an excuse to go to Vancouver. I like Vancouver. I just
But yeah, it was Michael Heisley.
see it's things like that that the commissioners can make a difference in a lot of ways, and unfortunately they don't. I don't know I don't know how you losing the Montreal market was such just a dumb thing. So for what? So that you can move them to Washington?
It's so weird, Joe.
Like every
That
team, there's enough East Coast teams, man. You needed a damn team in Montreal. That's just stupid.
every one of their two of their four teams have won titles, and nobody gives a shit in that town. The Nationals, Commanders, Capitals, and the Wizards. Like people still go to Wizards games in Washington, Joe, even though they're perennial losers. There's something again. It's like you said, trading Montreal for Washington, trading Memphis for Vancouver, And on that note,
It's kind of a
That
bummer. It's kind of a bummer. You had
well,
a
it's the worst trade in NBA history, trading Memphis for Vancouver. And now you only have one team in the Pacific Northwest. You need 3.
I'm trying to think what other city in Canada could support a basketball team. Montreal.
Montreal could.
They never thought about Montreal instead of Vancouver, although Vancouver was a good spot.
Because a lot of the NBA talent from Canada comes from Montreal. Chris Boucher's from Montreal. Lou Dort's from Montreal. Benedict Matherin's from Montreal. Yeah, it's a hot spot for basketball in Canada now, Joe.
Well, again, I got a lot of admiration for a lot of Canadians. Almost all the comedians that I've grown up with are Canadian, and I don't even know what the hell comedy would be without Canadians. Think about it. Think about that for a second. When you look at the Eugene Levy's and the John Candys and the Martin Shorts and all these guys, they're all freaking Canadians.
Dan Aykroyd, Will Arnett.
Just what would we do without Canadians in comedy? What would it be? Nikki Glazer? Is that what would be left? Anyways, again, thanks guys for being on tonight. I know we kind of went all over the place tonight, but again, that's what the Nightcap does. We're not here just to talk Lakers. Sometimes we kind of go into tangents, but that's what makes it fun. Sean, thanks for showing up. I know I didn't expect you to show up, but I'm glad you did. Jim Carrey as well. Obviously, he's on my Mount Rushmore, by the way.
Who is your Mount Rushmore of Canadian
my Mount Rushmore
comedians?
is Bob Hope, Richard Pryor, Jim Carrey, and the fourth one is always. Fourth one is really hard. Do I put Chappelle on there or Eddie Murphy? I think Eddie Murphy. I have to put Eddie Murphy there. Sorry, because he's more complete. So Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Jim Carrey, and Bob Hope.
Rodney Dangerfield, Eddie Murphy, George Carlin, and
it's impossible. It's impossible to be wrong. It's impossible to be wrong. I wasn't around for Bob Hope's prime, but my God, that guy, I seen clips of him at the Oscars. Jesus, that guy was good. Jesus, that guy was so
I would probably say Don Rickles would be number 4.
Here's a question that we need to start. Forget about Mount Rushmore. You do 4. Okay. Who's in the George Washington part? Who's in the George Washington spot? We know in basketball, that's easy. It's Michael Jordan. Football, Jim Brown.
You sure?
Okay.
Sure.
Basketball, Michael Jordan, Jim Brown in football. Hockey, definitely Wayne Gretzky. But baseball. It's got to be Babe Ruth now, right?
Oh, I would say somebody else, but okay.
Who would you say?
Willie Mays.
Really? No. Willie Mays is in the. Ohtani's going to end up there at one point.
The only reason I say that, Joe, is because Babe Ruth never played against black men.
We're going to come back to that one, Sean. Let's put that that's a good discussion for like an hour. Anyways, thanks for being here, folks. We went to different tangents, but that's what the show's about. You have any questions? You have any comments? You can contact me on Facebook. I'm Johnny Blade with Freddie Freeman as the Statue of Liberty on my profile, and I'm probably not going to take that off until something new for the Dodgers next year, or if the Lakers end up winning a championship here by some weird fluke. If you want to reach me on Instagram, I'm SinBlades_turf. And of course, if you want to reach me on X, you can reach me at X at Joe Soro LFB. For those of you who want to email us for any reason instead of going on social media, it's LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. Once again, Sean, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you all for being here tonight. Until next time, we'll see you next time.